Hello, I've come in on a cold and frosty morning to get a few things secured and checked for the winter before I go away for a while. Really, there's not much to do. As you can see, these strawberries are all frosted and everything is frozen. So there's not a lot to do, but I just came in to check because I haven't been in for quite a few days, at least a week I think, and I'm going away for a bit, so I thought I'll come in and check the allotments before I go and see how things are. The greenhouse is cleared. The only thing that's really going are these celery, and I just had a taste and it tasted fine. These were the ones that were outside and I cut and they resprouted, so I brought them in and they seem to be doing fine. The chilies are still attempting to go, but really they're looking a bit sorry for themselves. So I don't expect much out of these, but just left them to see what would happen, because I've had all the chilies I need. So I don't need any more chilies, but I'll just let them go and see what happens. One other experiment I'm doing this year. I tried overwintering peppers in this greenhouse before and that didn't work. I put these three next to the chimney. Obviously this chimney isn't in use, so it's not going to generate any heat, but it should provide a little bit more thermal mass over the winter as the sun warms it up during the day and then it cools down at night. Gives that little bit of heat to these. Now I've got the peppers cut and pruned, and they could just sit under those cloches, and we'll see what happens over the winter. If they don't come to anything, they don't come to anything. I've not lost anything. Right, it's the 8th of December and I've still got the little cucumber and the cucumber plant, and this is a Lediva, which is supposed to be sort of that size, but it's coming to the end. I mean, it's still flowering, but I don't think I'm going to get much more out of this. But for December, that's not bad, so I'm pleased with that. You can't expect to get a lot of cucumbers this time of year, but it was interesting. You know, the space was empty, so I used it. The beans are dry now. I can sort these out. Growing cucumbers at home in the conservatory, certainly can't grow it through winter. I mean, these end leaves are probably not going to do well. I don't think these flowers are going to do much, but the ones on the allotment went a long time ago, so to still be producing cucumbers in December, even though it is at home in the conservatory, it's something to do. In case you're wondering why I haven't posted anything from the crops allotment this year for 2023, is because there were reasons that I knew I was going to be away for quite a long time in July and possibly August, so I knew I'd be away for quite a long time. I expected the crops would need watering, and I thought, well, I can't have both plots in cultivation and somebody coming in and watering them every other day. That's too much to ask, so I decided to leave this one fallow for a year. I thought about getting in a co-worker, but most people around here are diggers and they encourage digging and they keep laughing at me for not digging. So I thought, if I get somebody in, I'll spend 4 years trying to get the soil structure on this plot right, and I'll come back and they look at me pleased with themselves. Oh, I've dug this bit and I've dug that bit and I've dug this over. So I didn't want that, so I didn't get a co-worker. So rather than try and keep it cultivated, I decided, right, I'm just going to not do anything with it, just come in and do a bit of weeding when I can. I knew it was going to go to weeds and I knew I'd have to deal with it, but that's not a problem. I have been in and cut hedges and things, but this bit's not too bad, apart from this cage that collapsed and I never got around to clearing it, but I'll have to do that. This was the job to do today, but typical. Came in this morning to get a job done and there's rat poop everywhere. They could be nesting in here, so what I was planning to do, I've got to change and come and take all this stuff out and clear out all this wood that I've been storing to keep dry, and see where the blooming rats are. Flaming nuisances. but the back end looks really bad and overgrown. But it is basically the odd few weeds. I mean, this rhubarb bed won't take long to sort out. Pull a few nettles out, that won't take long to sort out. And then these won't take long to dig out. Looks worse than it is because I have piled the weeds on top of each other as I pull them and drop them. So you can see the newest stuff come through is green, but the black stuff is all the stuff underneath that I chopped and pulled and dropped, and it is turning into compost. So I'll cover this. And yes, I've relented and bought some weed fabric because it's just impossible to keep this plot and the other plot tidy without spending hours and hours every week pulling weeds out. Look at this. I have spent ages weeding this, mulching it, putting cardboard down, putting layers and layers of wood chips down, and you'd never know it. It just comes through, the stuff just comes through. The wood chips disappears, turns into nice fertilizer for the weeds, and the weeds just come through. So I'm going to be covering it with weed fabric. Now we'll get complaints, oh, it's not very eco, it's not this, it's not that. But really the options are I give up doing something else, give up on another hobby or interest, give up the allotment, or I'll put weed fabric down because it's just taking so much time and I'm not using things like a weed killer. And we've had a shortage of wood chips, so even if I had the time, even if I could make the time to put wood chips down, I really can't, and there isn't any wood chips. So like an idiot, I'd have to keep coming in and pulling weeds every day or every few days, and they're just relentless. They're just relentless. I've done it for 4 years. It's just a fool's errand trying to keep these allotments weed free. If you've got the time, yes, you can do it, but I've got better things to do in my time, so I'm going to use the weed fabric. It's got a 10-year lifespan guarantee, which will be fine because obviously with weed fabric I don't need to put down quite as much wood chips, so I put a weed fabric down and a thinner layer of wood chips. So instead of putting 15-20 centimeters of wood chips, I only need to put down 5 centimeters. So that saves me hours and hours. I don't have to use as much wood chips because there isn't enough to go around for everybody. That's the plan, and that's why you've not seen anything from this plot for 2023, because it's just been left more or less fallow. Things like asparagus and rhubarb have been growing, but there's been no annual crops on here, and there was nothing of interest happening apart from weeding and cutting hedges, so I didn't record those. I'm going to work on this allotment this winter so that it will require minimum effort next year, and I can concentrate on the plants rather than being down on the ground weeding all the time. I can go and do other things and progress the plot rather than just muck about with the weeds all day.